Right, good morning everybody. My name is Natalie from Retail NZ and we are just checking out some technical issues. Let's just quickly see, Sharon, expand. Okay, we seem to have that all sorted out. Nigel, thank you very much for your help with that. And I'm back and my name is Natalie and from Retail NZ. Obviously, as I mentioned before, I don't know if you could hear me there or not, but I'm very happy to be with you again today, just as we run through this quick webinar. Just one or two little housekeeping things. I'm really going to do this in 30 minutes. I fully understand that we're starting to get into that really busy time, and I appreciate people take time out of their days, and so I don't want to waste any of your time. But we really thought this was a really pertinent webinar to do now as we're coming up to Black Friday and Christmas time, and part of my other role that I do for Retail NZ is I work on the advice line, and just in the last week or two actually the incidence of shoplifting seems to have picked up. Some of our members have been calling in and speaking to us about those things. So we'll run through some information that I'm hoping is going to be helpful to you as you plan for this period. And there is a chat function which you should be able to see on your screen. So fire through any questions there and we'll try and answer as many questions in the 30 minutes as well. However, I do just want to remind you at this time that our advice line is there. There's always somebody manning that. If we don't answer it immediately, we always will get back to you. So that number is 0800 472 472, or you can always email us as well at advice@retail.kiwi. So let's get cracking into this. Obviously today we're talking about shoplifting, and as the old saying goes, prevention is always better than cure. So we'll definitely have a look at some of the strategies and the planning that you can do to ensure that you safeguard your business and your goods against would-be shoplifters. The second thing we will talk about in a little bit of detail is around what to do if you see somebody stealing or suspect somebody of stealing, and what are the legal do's and don'ts, because there are some things that we can do as retailers and there's some things that we can't do. And a lot of those, while they don't necessarily seem all that fair, we want to be giving you guys out there some really good guidelines so that you don't get into trouble. It's bad enough that people are stealing your stuff, still for you to actually be in trouble as a result of the actions that you take. And honestly, you know, 2020 has been an awful year. So I just think that anything that we can do in this space to prevent it being an even further disastrous year, we should do what it is that we can. So I suppose just to really begin, it's really good to note as well that a lot of shoplifters are very professional. There'll be some that will be sort of, you know, not quite as sophisticated, but a lot of them are very professional. And so we really want to be on our game. How do we beat them at their game? So firstly, I want to talk about security tools. And I hope that, you know, a lot of you aren't throwing your hands up in the air and say, oh, here they go, they're going to tell us to buy a whole lot of really expensive surveillance equipment. There are a lot of very effective, very inexpensive ways that you can actually prevent shoplifting from happening in your store. One of the simplest ways to do that, and we can actually help you in this regard, is putting up posters that actually tell people that there is some surveillance around your store as well. We can email those through to you. They're great, they're colourful, they look good. It's literally going to cost you some ink, some paper, and a bit of blue tack. And they do happen to be very effective in preventing people from stealing. Shoplifters essentially are opportunists, so they're looking for stores where they think there isn't such a good security system in place. Even if you don't have the budget to put in a sophisticated security system, there are other things you can do. Signage obviously is the one thing, but the other thing is even if you can have some dummy cameras up in your premises as well, very inexpensive, and it gives the perception that there are some cameras that are actually watching them. Mirrors are another thing, very inexpensive. Go down to the warehouse, you can buy mirrors for $10 or $20. Have a look at the layout of your store as well, and figure out, you know, when you assessing your store, kind of put your own criminal glasses on, if I can call them that. Think like a criminal. Try and put that lens on and be asking yourself, you know, if somebody was going to come into my store and would be stealing from me, what are the weak spots that they could potentially see? And so what's my weak underbelly? What are the things that I can do to protect those? So as I say, mirrors are a good way of doing that. So position them, think about where your staff are located, and have some of those blind spots that you can actually see and that your staff can actually see as well. And this might be a good time to rethink about the layout of your store as well. If there are some of those blind spots, those little hidey holes that people can go into where there isn't a lot of traffic, where other shoppers or your staff can see them, it may actually be a good idea to think about how else can I lay the store out that it eliminates some of those blind spots as well. Something else I will share with you, if you wanted to spend a little bit of money without going overboard on the budget. A couple of years ago, we lived in a house and we really struggled to see outside the front of our garages. And then a friend said to us, you know, you can get some really good quality, very inexpensive cameras online. And what I will do is I will actually go back and try and see if I can find them. And if anybody wants to know what they were, what the product was, I'd be happy to try and find that out for you. So contact me afterwards if you want to. But it was a weatherproof little camera that we could put outside at the garage. And anytime there was movement past, would actually send the footage to the cell phone. And I was quite blown away by the clarity of the footage and the imagery. You could see exactly who was moving around, really good if you could position it in such a way that you could see people's faces as well. And they were like $80. So, you know, and those were outside ones as well. So even if you got those, they were really good quality from that perspective. But if you could, you know, spend, even if you got 2 or 3 of those for your store, that's still really inexpensive and might actually be really worthwhile when you consider the cost of what that loss could actually amount to. Another excellent deterrent really is customer service. And I know I feel like you've probably heard all of this before, but the truth of the matter is, especially now as we're coming into this busy festive season and you're going to have your shoplifters out and about, it's a really good idea to go back to basics again. Have a chat with your staff. They need to be engaging. It's engage, engage, engage. When someone comes in the door, within 10 to 20 seconds of someone entering your store, greet them, smile, offer some help. I honestly do believe that, you know, engagement is the #1 skill of the rockstar retailer. And seriously, I know a lot of people, and I've seen when you go into a lot of retail stores, a lot of your staff is a little bit shy. So you need to even be thinking about this at a recruitment stage. If you're thinking of taking on some new staff for the Christmas period now as well, you want to be asking those interview questions that are drilling down into how are you going to engage with people when they actually come into the store as well. And there's nothing worse than staff that have got a bad attitude and don't want to greet people anyway. And if you do have some of those, you need to seriously be considering putting them on your CPE program. If you don't know what a CPE program is, it stands for Career Plans Elsewhere, because this is really one of the top skills and the top tasks and functions that a retailer should be doing every day. That's what retail is about. We're there to engage, we're there to provide that customer service. That really needs to be top of mind for everybody in your store, and it is a fantastic crime deterrent for would-be thieves as well. And part of the engagement, you know, really means your staff not just loitering around behind a counter, even if it is quiet. They need to be moving around the store, engaging with people, noticing what people pick up, and if they've got really good product knowledge, to use that to engage with people. That's a really great color. That fabric is actually tencel. Did you know it's made from eucalyptus? Very, very cool. And yeah, and I think that color would look great on you as well. So what that does is it's firstly, it's really good customer service. It shows that they're knowledgeable and can actually help the customer. And the other thing it conveys is, or communicates to the customer, is these guys actually know what I've got in my hands. So they are watching me, so I need to be careful about it if obviously they have bad intentions. The other thing when it comes to staff training and what you should be talking to your staff about is knowing the signs to look out for. There's some very clear telltale signs that will certainly tell staff that somebody is maybe a little bit suspicious, or that maybe they just need to keep a little bit of an extra eye on them. The first one is eye contact. If somebody has come in and they've done their very jovial, good morning, how are you today, how can we help you, and there's no eye contact, or there's an avoidance of eye contact, certainly should just raise a little red flag for your team. When customers are coming in and they're watching the staff more than they are actually looking at and engaging with the product, that's certainly a telltale sign as well that they're scoping the place out. They're trying to see how things work and how vigilant people are in your store as well. Also, when people are coming in and going out of your store all the time, the same people coming in and going out, but they're never actually completing a purchase or a sale, certainly something that should be raising a red flag for your team. Bulky clothing. I know this can be a little bit more difficult in the winter, but we're coming into the summer months now, so if it's 27 degrees outside and people are walking around in their ski jackets, probably somebody just to keep an eye on as well. Another strategy that shoplifters often like to use is coming into a store in large groups of people, and the strategy is for one of those people to engage with the salespeople, and this works particularly well where you don't have a lot of staff on your floor. So you want to make sure as it gets busier and busier that you do have more than one staff member there on their own, because the strategy is to engage the staff member while others are supposedly looking around, but what they're actually doing is putting merchandise into bags or under jackets, etc. And I really think it's important as well to remember and for you to remind staff and to make it part of their job description, that they understand that part of their job is actually crime detection and a bit of crime prevention. Now, well, we've always got to think safety first, so we're not talking about, gung-ho staff members going in apprehending people, because we will talk about how we need to approach that as well. But certainly we want to be thinking about vigilance. If, for example, you've actually seen Kmart's, I noticed, do this as well. They actually have greeters at the front door. So from a customer service or customer relations point of view, it's very nice. You come in, somebody says hello to you, they ask you how your day's going, and that's really good. But what those people are actually doing is being vigilant about who's coming in, seeing if there's any suspicious behavior so that they can actually alert other people in the stores who are actually watching out for criminals who are operating as well. So even if you've got a smaller store, even if you're not a Kmart, and I know most of you will be smaller store owners, you can still have a store greeter, and it might be that you change roles on a particular day, so not everybody is just focusing on the sales. The person who greets can be making sure that the shelves are tidy, because when you've got untidy shelves, that is another great opportunity for people to steal stuff that you don't even notice. So if that person is tidying up shelves, watching who's coming through the door, engaging with those people, seeing how it is they can help them. And it might be that somebody comes in and they engage, what have you come in for today? Oh, I'm looking for a t-shirt. Oh, I'll ask Alison over there if she can come over and assist you. Alison, can you assist this gentleman, maybe show him the new range that came in yesterday? So you've done that great customer service, but you are controlling in a certain way as well the people and the movement of people in your store without making them feel uncomfortable. We never ever want to lose a fantastic customer experience, but we've got to be looking out for our goods as well, because that's our bottom line. Another thing when it comes to staff as well, I spoke to a member the other day, and there'd been a huge amount of shoplifting in the store, and when he spoke to the staff member about it, her reaction was, well, it's not my job to protect the merchandise. On the contrary, it is everybody's duty and responsibility to be protecting the merchandise. So be having those conversations. Your business is the goose that lays the golden egg. If the goose is being stolen from, it's going to affect everybody else that benefits from those golden eggs. So speak to them about when criminals come in here, they're not just stealing goods, and they're not just stealing from me. They're actually stealing from the potential to give you a raise. They're stealing from the potential for you to have a bonus. They're stealing from your job security. They're actually taking that away from you. So think about the culture that you are creating in your store as well, and having some of those conversations with your staff as well. Really important not to stereotype people, particularly some of your more sophisticated criminals will come in and they'll dress very well and they'll be very smooth talking. You can keep an eye on those just as closely sometimes as people who maybe look like they come there to steal. So while you don't want to stereotype, you don't want to put people in boxes, keep your eyes open and know that anybody can steal anything at any time. So you want to watch across the board. All right, so let's move into what happens if you actually spot somebody stealing or you suspect somebody of stealing something. They're going to do one of two things. They're either going to cooperate with you when you approach them, or they're going to run. So let's talk about both scenarios. If they cooperate with you, well, we hope they're going to cooperate. So in the first place, you want to approach somebody. You want to be polite. You don't want to be confrontational, but at the same time, you can be a little bit assertive. So you want to approach them and identify yourself first and foremost. Hi, my name's Natalie, and I'm the store manager here at Nat's Dresses. Say what you saw, or you can pose it in a slightly different way. So how do you plan to pay for that blouse that I've just actually seen you put in your bag today? Will that be by cash or by credit card? See what the reaction is, and then ask them to accompany you to the office, and then you have a conversation with them over there. Really important to remember that you cannot search somebody. That is the job of the police to do. You can ask them to voluntarily open the bag and show you what's inside it, or to empty their pockets, or whatever the case might be. But when you escort them back, really good if you can outnumber the person that you suspect as well. So if you can call a staff member over to come and assist you with this. One person needs to walk behind. The reason for that is so that you can actually see if they're discarding any of the goods along the way. If you can have a person walking in front, they can direct them to your office as well, where you can have them, and make sure that they can't still put other things in their bags along the way as well. When you've got them in the office, have the door open. Really good for you to have a staff member along with you, or a colleague along with you, so that when police arrive, they can't say that you have assaulted them or treated them badly in any way. So always have a witness is a really good idea for you to do. As I say, you can ask them to unpack, but you've got to remember as well that they can actually leave the store at any time, and you cannot keep them back. There's actually only 2 instances where you can forcibly hold on to somebody. One of those is where the goods that you've suspected them of stealing is to the value of over $1,000. So that could be things like laptops or jewelry, or more sort of high-end products. And the other instance is where it's late at night, so after 9 p.m. before 6 a.m. in the morning. If that is the situation, you can make a citizen's arrest, and so you can use a certain amount of force to hold somebody in your store. But if it is the bottle of wine or the blouse or the whatever, you actually don't have a legal jurisdiction to hold people there, and you have to let them go. So really important, and that's where it comes back to, if you can have some surveillance so that you've actually got a description of the person. But the thing to remember as well is that confronting a criminal element can be very upsetting for the person doing the confronting as well. So expect your adrenaline. If you haven't done this before, if you've done it many times, you'll know what I'm talking about. Particularly in the beginning stages, your adrenaline, your cortisol will be going, so it'll be a stressful time for you as well. So you might not be that aware, just on a conscience level, of taking in as many details as you can. What was the color of the hair? What were they wearing? But as best as you can, try and make some mental notes of that as well. The second option that could likely happen is the person could decide that they are just going to grab the goods and run. So what you want to do in a situation like that is alert somebody else, get them to ring 111, grab a cell phone, and follow the person out of the store. You'll want to be able to explain to the police where you are, what direction you're going. So before you even get to that, what I'd suggest is even now, as you're planning for this busy season to come about, have a plan in place now already. Have a look, take a map, have a look, which direction does your store face? If somebody goes out of your store and they turn to the right, what direction are they actually traveling in? Is it north, east, south, or west? If you can determine that now, if you're not that good with direction like me, I don't always know, particularly on a cloudy day, which direction I'm going into. It's very helpful for me to know beforehand that if the person turns right, they're going to be going north. If they turn left, they're actually going to be going in a southerly direction. Make sure that your staff know the address. I would have a little ready reference card in my store with all of this information on. And do some training with your staff, have these discussions with them. Know the nearby streets. So the suspect left the store, they went in the southerly direction towards Smith Street, for example, because when you're on the phone or whoever's on the phone, they need to be telling the police where you are and which direction you're going in. They also need to be able to be giving a description of you and what you are wearing. If you're calling the police, you can give them some of that information as well. But think these things through before it actually happens, because in the moment, these things happen so quickly. As any of you, if you've experienced any of this, you'll just know how quickly this can actually happen. So the more you can do before the time, the better. The other thing to speak to staff about in particular is the language that you use when you're reporting something to the police. It's shoplifting or a theft. Shoplifting or a theft is very different from a robbery. And people often will use those terms interchangeably. Robbery usually is accompanied by violence, somebody coming in, hitting somebody, there's a weapon involved. That's a robbery. A robbery is different from burglary. You've been burgled if somebody comes in at night after nobody's there. They've come in, you know, they've actually broken into your premises. But in most cases, if it's shoplifting, refer to it as shoplifting or as theft. Just some of the legal things, I've touched on some of them already. You don't have a right to search somebody's bags. You can ask them to do so voluntarily, but they don't have to. They can actually refuse. Really important to remember as well that a shop is not a public place, so you can actually have conditions of entry. It might be that you want to search bags before people come in. If they don't like the conditions, they don't have to come in. You want to reduce or remove the surprise element, so make sure if you're planning on any kind of strategies like that you've got some signage up to say that you do reserve the right to do that. But when you've suspected them of taking something, ask them to do it voluntarily or wait until the police come. The police have the jurisdiction and the right to actually search somebody. I mentioned about a citizen's arrest. You can do that. Make sure the value of the item warrants that, or the time of day. If it's after 9 p.m. at night or before 6 a.m. in the mornings, you do have the right to do that, and you can apply a little bit of force there while you're actually waiting for the police to come. Again, rather don't search people, let the police come and do that for you. Yeah, and just again, when it comes to trespassing, remember that, as I said previously, a shop is not a public place. So trespassing, you can trespass people, but you want to make sure that you're not just discriminating, that you're not trespassing, because of person's ethnicity, for example. That would be racist and you could get into trouble for that. But you can certainly trespass somebody if you don't like the behavior. If somebody's making you feel really uncomfortable or threatening you, you can actually ask them to leave. So you can actually revoke that implied license that they have, but it's not a public place, so there's no automatic right for them to come into your store. And of course, you can trespass people. If you want to give people a trespass notice, we can actually supply that for you. So contact us again on the advice line, and you can trespass somebody for up to 2 years. And so in that case, the other question I had the other day on the advice line, which is quite pertinent, somebody asked, they've got still images from the surveillance footage, can they display those in their shop so as to kind of shame or deter others from coming into and doing the same thing. Under the privacy laws, you can't do that, but you certainly can provide those to police, and anything like that, particularly if somebody runs from your store, any evidence like that that you can collect, really good to be able to provide to the police. Again, and privacy laws are about to change. We're about to look at doing a privacy guide, so look out for that. That should be out in a couple of weeks if we can get around to that and do that as quickly as we can, because a lot of those laws are changing. So how you collect information and how you store information could be pertinent to this very topic, in how you actually collect that information, what you can keep and what you can display, and how long you can keep things like that as well. So I promised I would keep it to 30 minutes. We've got 5 minutes left, and I just want to see, are there any questions that have come through? Questions here? No questions at this stage. If anybody wants to fire anything through there, you're very welcome to do that. And even after the fact, if something occurs to you afterwards and you think, gosh, I should have asked this or that, Ashley and myself are on the advice line 5 days a week, sort of office hours. So please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We've got lots of really great resources as well. We've got a very good crime guide, which you just need to email us, or you can order it through our website as well. More than happy, free of charge to our members, and there's just some really good practical advice there as well. And so there might be, I think if there are any questions that come up, it probably might be around the legalities of us approaching people in these situations. And the last thing I'll say as well, if you've got any staff that have been involved, and before, even at your planning stage, remind people about it's safety first. It's their safety first. Goods can always be replaced, but people can't. So if you have people who come in and they are aggressive and it is more of a robbery situation, you do need to be speaking to staff more about safety. I see a question's just popped up there. Internally to team. Sorry, not quite sure what that means. If you can give me some clarity on that question, I'll gladly try and answer it for you. But yeah, just getting back to the safety aspect of things, ensure you remind your staff that as much as they try to look after you and their store and their jobs and their job security, that it's never ever worth putting themselves in danger over goods. Goods can always be replaced. So that's it from me. I don't see any further questions coming up there. Oh, there's one more over there. What's the best crime prevention strategy? I'd say a strategy, and it's just that you need to really be thinking about all of these elements, having a plan up front, doing your staff training, looking at your floor plan, knowing what it is you're going to say, knowing, having enough staff on board that if you do approach somebody, that person is outnumbered. So think about all the things that we've spoken about, and more than happy to share any additional information with any of you as time goes by. So that's it from me today. Thank you all very much for joining us. There will be a recording of this presentation, and all of these sit up on our website as well. So if you do want to refer anybody else there or go through anything again, you're more than welcome to do so. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.